All right, people. What up? What up? What up? It's your boy Chig from Gooner Eagle Eye, coming to you again with a brand new video. This time it is Eagle Eye, transfer rumor show where I talk about rumors surrounding the Arsenal. Now, first things first, apologies for being. Normally, I do this at 11 anyway, almost late night with Chig style. But apologies for being a little later than I said I was going to be. I just had to sort out some last minute things. Plus, I changed the story, the lead story I went with, because I couldn't find the reference of the story that I was going to talk about. But I will still mention it as part of this overall show. Um, One thing I want you guys to do, my like squad, you know who you are. Drill that like button for me. You know I appreciate every time you guys do that. And if you haven't already, just please just show me some love, bro. Show me some love, guys. Just stick a like on the video. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already as well. You know what I'm trying to do with this show. I'm trying to make sure it grows as much as possible. So make sure that you guys jump on that like button if you can. Also, I'm going to try and monitor behavior in the chat a little bit more. So let's not. It sounds like a cringy thing I have to say, but let's everybody kind of let's not turn my chat room into one of these chat rooms where people are just unnecessarily abused. People are spamming. So the mods that are in there, if you see people just unnecessarily abusing someone or are unnecessarily spamming, I think you know the sort of characters that do that. Just don't waste no time. Literally, just time people out. I'm also on the lookout for a couple of new mods. So all of a sudden, if you find that you might have a spanner next to your name, you become a mod. That's because I trust you. So make sure you take on that responsibility as well. Don't waste no time. If you see, uh, I give you power up until a certain point. So I would say, don't block anyone. Time them out. Time them out. I'll do the blocking. So if I see someone just unnecessarily being stupid or racism, definitely block them. But other than that, I'll block them. Just make sure, just time people out. You see they're taking a piss, just time them out. All right, let's go into the stories. Let's talk about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, this story has become quite interesting because although he seemingly got a lot of interest, that interest from abroad seems to be waning a little bit. As I suspected it would, because the man is turning 31. But obviously, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, we know what he does. We know how good he is. When he initially, this story initially came out, um, the whole idea behind it was that there'll be teams from all over the shop that'd be interested in him because he scores goals. It's guaranteed goals. But age is against him. And, Inter Milan, as everyone knows, are looking to sell Martinez to Barcelona. Barcelona, I think, have more or less got that agreement in place. I just read a story just before the show, just now, that Inter Milan have actually targeted Timo Werner as a replacement for him. That's a hell of a replacement, to be fair to them, and a smart one too. Timo Werner. So that kind of, you would think, would potentially rule out an Aubameyang to Inter Milan move. Barcelona don't seem to be as keen on Aubameyang as we thought, and for some reason, I still can't see him going to Real Madrid. I feel like Real Madrid would want a younger striker for sure, but I can't see him going to Madrid. So his options are starting to become more and more limited if we're to sell him abroad. Obviously, we know he has suitors in the Premier League, and I know that isn't something that particularly suits us. When a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I remember putting a story on my community post that Arsenal were looking to sell him for as little as 35, and it was uproar then. Well, supposedly the Sun and the Mirror are reporting that actually Arsenal are going a step further, and they are lowering his price tag to £30 million, which is like nothing. I must admit, I feel like if I won't feel good if Aubameyang goes for as little as 30. It's bad enough he's going, but let's try and extract the most we possibly can. What do I think? I can't see Arsenal letting him go for 30. I can't. I can't. I feel like, and this is the problem. This is the problem that we always paint ourselves in these situations. Why has Aubameyang been allowed to go to his last year of his contract? So now we almost are in this situation of our own making, where we are seriously contemplating letting our most important player go for £30 million. It, in no other club would this happen. It's always seemingly our club. So frustrating. But what do you guys think? Is this something that you think could actually happen? Do you think we could actually be so, how can I put it, so snookered by the situation that we actually have to let him go for 30 million? And where do you see him going? Like, do you see him actually staying potentially in the Premier League? Because those are the only people prepared to actually put the money down to buy him. It'd be interesting to see what you guys think. Again, leave it in the comments below. I just realized my comments aren't on. Oh yeah, there you go. All right. Let's talk about these three signers. Ola, big up yourself, Ola. I hope you're well. Show Ola some love. That is my combat show co-host right there. Link is in the description. That is my MMA show. So if you guys who keep asking me, oh, bro, what do you think about UFC this or boxing that? That's the place to discuss that. Go and show him some love. Yeah, and just essentially subscribe if you haven't already. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it going. Let's talk about Arsenal. Now, this is the story I was initially going to go with. I remember seeing this story earlier this afternoon. Then I had a nap. Then I couldn't find the story. So I couldn't consciously go with this as the lead story to the show without having some kind of reference. But I do remember seeing this story. And then obviously I noticed Lee also went with this, but went with it as his lead story. So I'm going to tentatively mention this story, but I do remember seeing this myself. And that is supposedly Arsenal have secretly made two signings. They haven't necessarily revealed who those two signings are, but there's a strong belief that one of them is Ryan Fraser, that deal is more or less tied up and is good to go. Now, let me comment on this story before I tell you who I think the second person is. For me, I prefer this signing to a Willian, to be honest. I think he's younger. I think he can offer us more in the time that he signs for us than Willian can. I'm not going to tell you he's necessarily a better player than Willian, but I do feel like in a team like Arsenal that needs chances, he is a chance maker. It's flat out. It's as simple as that. Don't think technically he's an amazing player, but I think one thing he can do is he can get to a byline and cross a ball. Excuse me, and cross a ball, which is one thing I would suggest that we need. Just get someone who can get to the byline and whip a ball in. And that's one thing that he is very, very good at doing. He's obviously got Premier League experience, which we don't often buy Premier League players. And I think one of the bases for Liverpool's success is that, yes, they've bought people like a Van Dijk and Firmino and Salah from abroad, although Salah had Premier League experience. But actually, people overlook the fact of the established Premier League players they bought. They bought Mane in and heavily invested in Mane. Even at the time when they bought Mane in, I was like, all right, he's a good player, but 32 million. 32 million looks like a flipping snip now for Sadio Mane. But at the time, I'll freely admit, I was like, hey, it's a lot of money for Sadio Mane, but they just established him. They saw him at Southampton and they thought, okay. I mentioned Van Dijk, like Van Dijk was brought abroad. Van Dijk was located as someone who played for Southampton. They invested in that. Robinson, they located him in at Hull, and they thought, Rago, let's bring him in. James Milner, my man was going out the door from Man City. They thought, you know what? He's a hard worker, and that's the only reason I don't shut the door on Willian, because Willian is also a hard worker, right? And he could potentially be our Milner if we play it right. So they saw Willian and they identified Milner, and they said, you know what? Yeah, maybe we have a place for him in the team. And how many times has Milner bailed them out over the last couple of years? Then a Liverpool fan that's going to shit on Milner. Let me tell you that now. You know, Henderson, another one. They located from Sunderland. You know, so I feel like if Arsenal are going to do this thing, maybe we need to start replicating some of that, because it's clear we don't have the recruitment facilities of Leicester. For some unusual reason, Leicester seem to be able to do what we used to do back in the day, which was locate actually good foreign talent. For some reason, we can't seem to do that now. Although I'll have a little something to say about our Brazilian network apparently a bit later on in the show, but we can't seem to do that, at least in these shores or in Europe. So I would say let's refocus our efforts on players that we know and see on a week in, week out basis. And Ryan Fraser, all right, he had a slow season last year, but I said it in my opinion, I think a lot of that was due to the fact he didn't get the move he wanted last year. So he kind of phoned in his last season. Whenever a player doesn't get them, that's another reason I wouldn't keep Aubameyang, because I think he'll phone it in next year. So I feel like, for me, unless Aubameyang signs a contract, sell him, albeit abroad, but sell him. So I think Ryan Fraser's still a decent enough player. He's 26 years old, and he's a chance maker. Yes, I don't think technically he's an amazing player, but he's an attacking player who can whip a ball in. I think that we can have some value for that. But what do you guys think? Leave it in the comments below. All right. And the other player who I think it's Lazawa. I don't think it is Willian. I can't see us getting Willian and Fraser. I'm not necessarily sure it would be worth doing that, to be honest. I think it would be more worthwhile getting one or the other. And I think they would prefer Ryan Fraser to a Willian, even though supposedly we are favourites now. That was a story that broke yesterday. We are favourites now ahead of Liverpool, ahead of Spurs, to get Willian. I'll come back to the Willian thing in a minute. I think it is Lazawa. For whatever reason, the story doesn't seem to be going away. He is on a free. I just don't like. I don't particularly rate the player. I'm not 100% certain he's much of an upgrade on Kolasinac. But I will say this: if we were to get him, you would think that that is Arsenal's intention of perhaps making sure that Saka doesn't play as left back, that is as a left winger. And in which case, then I can kind of sort of see the sense in that. And then maybe Kolasinac is the fall guy, the one that you do sell. I still don't rate Kazawa, I must admit. I do see that deal potentially being announced, though, because obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, La Liga 1, or the French league, for anyone who doesn't speak French, was cancelled today. PSG were awarded champs, are being made champions. And subsequently, you would imagine the players will start going on holiday or making moves to go to various different clubs for next season. So from our perspective, you would think any free signings coming out of that league will soon announce where they are or where they potentially may go. I hope it ain't Kazawa. I'd actually rather keep Kolasinac, to be honest. At least he knows how we play. Oh gosh, I'm really, really cooled off of this idea of Kazawa. He's the one player I've seen on a YouTube clip. Don't get me wrong, I know who Kazawa is, right? But I was watching a little compilation of him on YouTube. He's the one player I watch on YouTube that actually doesn't even impress me on YouTube. How is that possible? But yeah, I think for me, I hope it's not him. Obviously, the other person it could be is Willian. Willian, there was a story that came out today that Arsenal were flabbergasted. They were shocked at the wage demands of Willian. So I was like, right, okay, if they're shocked, how much does he want? Right? Arsenal are so cheap. I go into the story. All Willian wants is to maintain his current wages, which is £120,000 a week. To me, that is not nuts. And plus, I think he is a good player. Yes, I understand he's turning 32. But the way I see it is, and I will come to this story too, I might as well transition to this story, and that's Henrik Mkhitaryan. To me, there is a 31 to 32-year-old player who's on a lot more money. I tell you what, if you're on a cost-cutting exercise, why don't you actually sell him to the team that he wants to go to, a team that wants him, and you lot are trying to extort them for the player? Just sell him. My man is on damn near £200,000 a week. Why don't you slash that and give it to Willian if that's who you want? So yeah, I think for me, that's personally what I would like to see. I would like us to kind of, make moves towards cost cutting this summer and getting rid of players that we clearly have no use for. Mkhitaryan is one of those players. Another story came out today that and they're clearly trying to put a lot of pressure on Arsenal, and that is I think it was from a story from their manager that they're keen to keep Mkhitaryan. They are so keen to keep this player. I've never seen a manager put himself out there like this for an on-loan player. Because this is at least the second or third quote I've seen this summer. But they are keen to keep him. For whatever reason, we don't seem to be headed towards that direction. We're insisting that we want 23 million. Roma are insisting the most, excuse me, damn hay fever. Roma are insisting that the most that they want to pay for him is 15 million. I would take 15. Truth be told, I'd take 10 million. You want me to be real? I'll take 10 million for him. I don't know what we're holding out for. To me, it seems like a foolhardy, foolish move. But again, what do you guys think? What would you do about that Mkhitaryan situation? Leave it in the comments, leave it in the chat room below. Remember, guys, I'm not at the moment looking at the chat room. So mods, once again, if anyone's misbehaving, if anyone is unnecessarily spamming, if anyone is, just taking over the chat room, just check them, time them out, do what you've got to do. I give you blessing to do that. All right, let's talk about Ben Yedder. Now, it's just not a player I talk about a lot. I do like him as a player. I still think the guy is goals. He tends to score goals wherever he is. Even this season, at the age of 30, he scored 18 La Liga goals. And as I mentioned before, because now the French league has been wrapped up, someone like him will be a high commodity, particularly in light of the fact that we are losing our goal machine in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, seemingly. So obviously, if you're losing goals, the idea is that you need to try and replace them. One of them is supposed to be Ben Yedder. And Ben Yedder is almost like Jonathan Tah. He's one of them players that you don't really think about until someone in the chat room brings him up. He's just one of them sort of players. I don't think he's got necessarily the best agent working for him, but he's just not one of them players you automatically think about. But there are some that genuinely love him, particularly would I have him at the right price? I'd have him just as a short-term solution. If you notice with me, I'm not necessarily a short-term solution guy. But the one thing I will say for Ben Yedder is he's a good player. Don't really like the price that we're being quoted, though. Supposedly, Monaco will be prepared to sell him for 40 million euros, which you might sit there and say, that ain't bad considering, but He's 30 years old. There's not a lot of resale value there. Yes, you're probably getting someone that will come in and get you some goals, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Uh, For me, this wouldn't be the option for me to replace Aubameyang with. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. Suppose let's on that subject. Let's talk about two players that have been tipped to replace Aubameyang. One of them is Jonathan Edward. There is belief that Arsenal are strongly interested in Jonathan Edward, the Genk striker, who's banging a gang of goals this season. 20 years old Canadian striker. And he's someone that a lot of people like. He's speedy, very raw talent, but has an eye for goal. Clearly, this season, I think he scored something along the lines of 21 goals or something like that this season, 10 assists. So he is a good team player. Listen, yes, it's the Greek league, but I don't necessarily dismiss someone that's banged in 20 goals wherever they've been, as long as it's of a certain level. Because listen, I think an eye for goal is an eye for goal. And I think once you have that, you're halfway there. Obviously, hard work is the other half. And if he's prepared to do that, I'd be tempted. Do I think he's the solution for the Aubameyang move? No, I don't. But he might be a solution for a Lacazette going. But again, what do you guys think? Leave it in the comments below. The one who I think, if Arsenal make a play for, is potentially the guy. I'm going to butcher his name again, aren't I? Hold on, guys. While I avoid butchering his name, please. Hold on 1 second. Ah, yes. I knew I was going to butcher his name, and I'm glad I checked it. While I do that, please do stick a like on this video. Please do absolutely slap that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, as we continue motoring forward. Bear in mind, I'm doing a show because I didn't do a show yesterday, but there's a lot of stories I'm trying to cover. So do stay with me while we go through these. Osun Edouard is the striker I was talking about. He's the striker I like. He's 22 years old, previously playing for PSG. Very raw talent. He's a player I like, I must admit. I think he's got a lot of good attributes, good physical attributes that I think would be handy in the Premier League. I don't think necessarily he's as technical as people think he is. I do think there is a certain rawness about him. But I also think that potentially we might be able to get a player who, again, has an eye for goal. And I know people will sit there and say, yeah, but it's at a certain level. So who cares if it's the Scottish League? I'm sorry. If you score damn near 30 goals and a gang of assists on top of it, you clearly have an eye for something. And this might be the overall plan if we do sell Aubameyang and Lacazette, is the idea that, of course, we have our youngsters there waiting in the wings. Arteta seems to have a lot of belief in Eddie. I personally still have a lot of belief in Balogun if we can make that happen. So I do think we have a number of young strikers there who potentially could step up to the mark. Definitely not straight away. So you do need a slightly more experienced head, and maybe this could be it. Maybe that's why I can understand the Ben Yedder link, because you do need someone of that ilk who's got that experience. But at the same time, if Aubameyang is committed to leaving, you've got to have a plan, and maybe that plan is Osun Edouard. I must admit, I'm not going to pretend like we watch him week in, week out, but I do have a friend who is Scottish and is not a Celtic fan, is a Hearts fan, but that does actually watch the Scottish League on a week in, week out basis, obviously, prior to this break. And he rates him highly. The only thing he would say is that he thinks he needs one more season to just, season a little bit, just to marinate and learn his craft a little bit more. Keep it in mind, he is still 22. So I do find that interesting that he feels that he needs that one more season. But again, what do you guys think? I know a lot of you in the chat room, at least previously, have shown that you guys rate this guy highly. Is this your personal choice? Who would your choice be to replace Aubameyang? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. Okay, I hope you guys are well. Again, once again, please do stick a like on this video. I'm going to talk about 2 more stories because I know I'm rabbiting and I don't want to necessarily bore you guys too tough. And plus, it's a school night, so I need to get up out of here and get some sleep. So let's talk about Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey is the Atletico Madrid midfielder. Someone that you guys know that I'm very keen on, very keen that he signs for Arsenal. I remember one of the last questions I was asked in the previous show is how much of a chance do you honestly think we have of signing Thomas Partey? And if you guys noticed, I didn't quite close the door. Like I've always been adamant from the very get-go that we would not sign Upamecano. I'll talk about 3 stories. I just remembered one other. Upamecano, I've always been adamant. I've been adamant for the last year we would not sign that kid. And as it's looking now, it looks like he's signing for Bayern Munich. With Thomas Partey, I still feel like there is some mileage on this. My only worry is that Arsenal don't tend to win a lot of protracted signing victories. There ain't a lot of times where a player has been linked with us. They initially deny it. They continue being linked with us, and then Arsenal sign it. It very rarely happens. That's the only reason I'm not as confident. But supposedly, where all this started was a couple of days ago, it came out that Atletico Madrid have offered him a contract. And to quote, apparently, their representative, it was rubbish. It was rubbish. Whatever their contract offer, it wasn't good enough. A lot of the stories that were going around were saying that they were trying to double Thomas Partey's current wages, which is set to be around 65,000 pound a week. So Atletico Madrid were trying to target 130,000 pound a week. My gut feeling is they didn't reach 130,000 pound a week. And now they are a lot more open to the idea of potentially leaving the club. I think in an ideal world, Thomas Partey would prefer to stay at Atletico Madrid. I think that would be his first choice. The reason that he initially denied it wasn't that he was against moving to Arsenal per se. It was more about the fact that he felt like he owed something to Atletico Madrid as being the team that took a chance on him and gave him the opportunity to be Thomas Partey. Oh gosh, 4 stories. I remember another one. Okay, I'm going to keep it moving. Yeah, I've lost my flow now because I remembered that other story. It's Thomas Partey linked, kind of. That's why I thought I'd mention it. So yeah, he feels like he owes something to Atletico Madrid. So his first priority is to stay if it's possible. But supposedly now they're a lot more keen on hearing what Arsenal have to say. Arsenal supposedly are desperate to speak to him. We've heard it mentioned before. In an ideal world, it's Arteta's #1 priority is to bring in someone of Thomas Partey's ilk, someone who has that presence, who has that ability. For me, you guys have heard me say it, he'd be my #1 dream signing for the summer because I think we've needed that type of signing for so long. Just a big unit in the middle of the park that can give us a little bit of bite. Because how many times have you heard me say that over the years? We've not done that. Like I keep saying this to people. We've come closer to replacing Thierry Henry than we have to replace Patrick Vieira. I think, personally, I think it's a pipe dream that Xhaka leaves this summer, even though that would be my ideal option. So if Xhaka is not to leave this summer, oh my gosh, a 5th story. And Torreira, who's being linked with the move, is to leave. Apparently, Today he came out and said he's not going to force a move away from Arsenal, but he's more open to the idea of staying than he was, say, this time last year. But that in an ideal world, he'd prefer to move to AC Milan. So that's one of those 5 stories I've just mentioned. I thought I might as well slide that in now. So if the plan is to play Partey next to a Granit Xhaka, even though I don't rate Granit Xhaka, I think would be a lot stronger in that midfield. But again, what do you guys think? Do we have any chance of Partey? Like I said, I think for me, if I had to rate our chances, I'd say 20%. Purely on the basis that his first priority is Arsenal, and Arsenal don't often win protracted signings. So that's my only thing. I suppose on this Partey subject, Arsenal were looking at the BTEC Thomas Partey, and that is Frank Kessie from AC Milan. I must admit, I don't rate Frank Kessie. I don't. I think he has all kinds of holes in his game. And that was actually more highlighted to me when Arsenal played AC Milan 2 years ago. I thought we gave him the runaround. I don't rate him. I genuinely think he's a cheap version of Partey. Supposedly being rated at £30 million. But he apparently came out yesterday to deny those rumours late yesterday and said that he wasn't looking for a move away from AC Milan and that his intention was to stay at AC Milan. I'm going to lie, in my mind, I was like, thank God, just stay there. I don't rate him. I honestly don't. I suppose while I'm on the midfielders, I might as well talk about Ndidi. I don't really want to focus on Ndidi too tough. And that was because, to me, I thought this was a nothing story. But supposedly, one of Ndidi's teammates, Nigerian international teammates, recommended that he should leave Leicester and join Arsenal. Again, for anyone who doesn't know, Arsenal is one of those teams that Ndidi has always rated and liked. And I've told you guys before, in Africa, Arsenal is seen as a big deal in Africa. In Africa, there are few teams that are proper big deals. Man United, Liverpool, and Arsenal. They're the 3 big teams in Africa that generally most Africans support. So to me, it's not a major surprise to hear that they view Arsenal as the bigger club, and Arsenal are the bigger club. It's just that Leicester are the better club at the moment. So yeah, he's obviously kind of advised Ndidi that he should leave. Ndidi came out yesterday and basically quashed that straight away. He was just like, listen, I'm happy at Leicester. I have no intention of moving. I must admit, when you're looking at someone like Thomas Partey for 50 million euros, you look at Ndidi and you're like, wait, Ndidi costs 50 million pounds. Maybe we should test Leicester's resolve. Arsenal ain't about that life. This is the thing. They ain't about that life. They ain't about that life. I know. I already know. That's why when I saw the story, I thought I'll just ignore it. But I was talking about central midfielders. We've been linked with a lot recently. I thought I'd give my 2 cents on this, given the fact he's Nigerian, and I know people are going to ask me. I like Ndidi a lot. The inevitable question from one of you will come, so I might as well ask this now. I've always said I'd rather Partey than Ndidi. I've always had that slight reservation with Ndidi. I think he's a very good player. I do think he has some holes to his game. I do have a little bit of frustrations with him sometimes when he plays for Nigeria. So he is a player I know well. I will say this for Ndidi, though. He's 23 years old. So that kid will only get better and better and better. And that's exciting for me as obviously a Nigeria fan. Yeah, I think for me, if we get him, of course, listen, I'll always welcome Nigerians to the team. You're down Skippy, I'll always welcome Nigerians to the team. But apart from anything, he's a good player. But again, what do you guys think? Who would you pick? Who would your central midfield option be? Leave it in the chat room, leave it in the comments below. I might as well talk about this. This was one story I did want to actually talk about, and that was Aubameyang, the Leon Hossein Rumour, the Leon central midfielder. Supposedly, weirdly, the Leon president has done a bit of a U-turn from, what was it, last week I was talking about this, where he basically said that he wasn't interested in selling Aubameyang this summer. All of a sudden has opened the door. This is Leon, not playing little games. All of a sudden, he's basically said, listen, that if Aubameyang ended up saying that he wanted to leave, that he'd open the door and let him go. And as long as he gets what he feels is valued, which apparently is £42 million, then he will let him go. So Man City and Arsenal are like, oh yeah, 42 million. Imagine a summer where we get Party, Aubameyang, and then Aubameyang stays and Saka agrees, and they both him and Saka stay and they both agree a new contract. That to me would be an awesome transfer window. I actually don't care after that. I actually don't care after that. I do not care. If we were to get Aubameyang and Saka to stay, and then those two to sign on, shoes, goodness gracious. Like, okay, let's see where we go. Let's see how we do. Because I'll tell you what, we'll be infinitely stronger for it. Infinitely. The chances of that, slim to none. The chances of signing one of them, one of those things happening is probably quite low. And I suppose that then brings me on to Saka. Saka is constantly being linked with moves. The latest team to be involved in a move for him is Leicester. Leicester view him as someone that potentially could add to the team. And listen, there's not a team in the Premier League that would not like Saka. I think that is a testament to how well he's done this season. He's done brilliantly this season. And when they all view him as someone that could potentially add something to their team, Leicester see him as a potential replacement for Ben Chilwell. So Saka has kind of painted himself into a situation because all these teams see him as a left back, but he wants to play as a left winger. Obviously, Chilwell's being linked with a move to Chelsea. So they see him as a potential replacement for him. I am worried, I must admit. I've gone from being super confident he'd sign on to now I'm very concerned. Talks are still moving, but apparently, see, they're conflicting stories because there's one story that says that he hasn't spoken, or his people hasn't spoken to Arsenal since February, obviously due to all this pandemic stuff. And then there are others that are saying that, there's no real agreement. But they don't know what the stumbling block is because it's been made quite clear that it's not money. It's not difficult for Arsenal to offer more money than Saka's on. Saka's on 5K a week. So it's not difficult to necessarily beat that. But I think there's a belief that, there's a worrying belief that they may fail to actually get this over the line. And this is the thing, you do worry when something becomes protracted and it comes to Arsenal. You do worry that they'll get, how many times have we seen players be in protracted talks and then nothing happens? The only situation where I've seen us win a protracted contract talk is Theo Walcott. Other than that, generally, it tends to go balls up. So it does worry me, and obviously Leicester being a genuine viable option for him. He is 18. I would like to think still his intention is to stay. I know that he put something out on social media the other day where he put a glass, an hourglass emoji, and it was a compilation of his Arsenal highlights. And I think people can take that one of two ways. You can take that as you can't wait to get started, let's get going, or listen, I'm kind of pessimistic, so I took it this way. Listen, if this doesn't get sorted out as soon as possible, this might be the only thing Arsenal-wise you guys have to remember me by. Because I'm not going to sit here and talk forever. So I hope Arsenal drag this over the line. In a lot of ways, this will be more devastating than Aubameyang leaving. Because this guy is legitimately one of our own. He's someone who started with the club at a very young age as a boy. and to lose him probably over some bullshit because this is Arsenal will be very frustrating to for me at least as an Arsenal fan to accept. But again, what do you guys think? Is this one that you think will get over the line eventually? I hope so. You do worry. But Arsenal, you never know. You never ever know. All right, I think that's enough of me rabbiting. Should we do 5, 10 minutes and then I'll get up out of here? Please do stick a like on this video if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I try and do at least 5 out of 7 nights a week. So make sure you do stick around. You'll always get regular content from me. Just a quick reminder, link in the description below. The combat show this Friday, 9:30. My wonderful co-host Ola or Black Scorpion is in the chat room. Make sure you check him out, check his socials out. Come and check us over there. We also have Will, who has been a wonderful addition to the team. Yeah, our dynamic seems to be working very well, us three together. So make sure you check that out if you want to talk anything boxing, anything MMA. That's the channel for you. In addition, Chick Flicks, we're motoring nicely on Chick Flicks. I dropped an unprecedented 5, count them, 5 reviews yesterday. Whew, it was not yesterday, Sunday. It was hard work, but I did that for you guys. So make sure you go and show that channel some love. Check out those reviews. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, I'm gonna go into the chat room and see what you lot are saying. Let's see what you lot are saying. Chib, you need more mods. I do. G, are you a mod? Let me go and let me sort this out. You're right. I do need more mods. Let me sort this out. Sorry if you guys hear me on the playback. You guys, I've just seen how many likes I got. Get on this like thing, bro. All right, G, I noticed you're the only mod in the chat. Nimsy, I'm not sure I trust Nimsy with mod power. I'll tell you what, Taib, I'll definitely make you a mod. Let's do that now. Taib, you got the mod power. Nimsy, I'm not sure, brother. I'm not sure with you as a mod. Buster, I'll make as a mod. Well. And I'll look for one more mod for now. Anyone actually want to be a mod? Stick your hand up. I'm literally in the YouTube chat room at the moment. I don't want to make too many people mods though. I don't want to make too many people. Hold on. I'll make the young man a mod. Don't abuse it though, because I'll take it away. I know you guys are taking a piss. And one more. All right, don't take offense if I don't make you mods yet. I'll put Bernard because Bernard's a good guy. All right, mods, clean this thing up. Don't block people though. Right, don't overly do it. Don't overdo it. All right, don't overdo it. All right, guys, please do stick a like on this video if you haven't already. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Literally, just hit me up with some quick fire stuff because I ain't staying long. Ain't gonna be no OT today. You watch. And for those of you on the playback that doubt that, trust me, I am gone in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I'm gone. Bertrand is a mod, bro. He is a mod. No, fam, too many mods. Come on, are you worried that we could? Okay, that's a good question. That is a good question. Are you worried that we could lose more of our talented youngsters like Saka if they look at how our previous ones, like Wilshere, stagnated? It all depends if they're given chances. I've mentioned before that I'm quite worried about Balogun. Um, for me, I think Balogun is such a talented striker, but I do worry based on certain comments that he's made previously that he might be looking to leave, and I think that's a guy that we will miss, and I think will bang anywhere he goes. So that one does worry me. Um, Emil Smith Rowe, you would think if he's not given a chance next season, where you would think we need central midfielders, he is a central midfielder. He is a little injury prone, but he is a central midfielder. You would think to yourself, well, there's a guy that potentially could step up into the team. Um, and potentially he could leave if he doesn't feel like he's being given an opportunity. Excuse me. So absolutely, that could be a possibility as well. Absolutely. Um, what are you lot saying? John Jules, I do like John Jules. I do think our best youngster is Balogun, to be honest. We're talking about the under 23s, it's Balogun. Do you think we'll sign Cedric or Max Aarons? I do worry that we'll sign Cedric. You want me to be real? It did occur to me that Cedric could be one of those free signings we supposedly have signed, um, which would be, oh man, oh gosh. I don't rate him the way you guys rate him. I must admit, I hope I'm proved wrong. He is 29 years old. It's not the worst age to have a right back, to have a backup right back. Maybe he's a Debuchy. For me, Debuchy was someone that we criminally underutilized. I liked Debuchy a lot. I thought he was a good player. Could actually cross a ball, was defensively solid, wasn't the slowest. I honestly don't understand why Wenger didn't use him. I liked Debuchy. Um, but yeah, I do worry about the Cedric thing, I must admit. Mr. Roberts, HA, great show. Are Arsenal better or the same? Are Arsenal better, the same or worse with new signings? It depends. It really depends. I think the jury's still out on Arteta for me. I don't. I don't think he is this godlike figure that certain people on Twitter will treat him like. But at the same time, I also don't think he's the devil like some people would treat him like. I just feel like, for me, the jury's still out. I can't pretend like he's not improved players. The aforementioned Saka being one of those players who he identified and said, you know what, I'm going to play you left back, and it's worked. I don't think defensively it's worked, but at least from an attacking perspective, we've clearly bamboozled teams enough where the kid has got a handful of assists, and that's an Arteta call. So um, I do think he has made certain people better, more consistent. You look at Mustafi, arguably he's been our best defender. It's horrible, as painful as that is for me to admit. I still would get rid of him because I still think he's a liability. But you can't deny it. He has. So I see both sides of the coin. So it really depends. I'd like to see Arteta get his people in because we heard that Emre didn't. Partey being one of those people that Emre supposedly wanted, and then the board said, no, 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 I'll give you Torreira. So you could see why he didn't really show Torreira love because that wasn't who he wanted. That people are campaigning hard for Molina, hard. Is it because Molina's a pretty face? Is that why? um, where's the focus? Saka or Aubameyang? For me, it has to be Saka. It has to be Saka for me. I think that's a good question. I did mention that in the show. For me, obviously, the immediate priority would be to keep both of them. But if we could only keep one of them, it has to be Saka. His ceiling is so high. And quite frankly, if Aubameyang leaves, that opens the spot for him to take over and be that guy. So yeah. Saka or Martinelli? In terms of what? Whose ceiling is bigger? Oh, that was tough. Seb, that's tough. Seb, that's real tough. Real tough. Hmm. Oh, Seb, stump me here. I'm gonna say Martinelli if you want me to be honest. If you want me to be honest, that is tough. Good question. I think Martinelli's ceiling is so high. So high. Um Chig, two players who are the two players and is this 100%? So Jack, straight up, I'm gonna be real with you. This is a story that I saw earlier this afternoon that I now can't find. That's why it's not my lead story anymore. But supposedly the two players, in my belief, one of them is supposedly Ryan Fraser, and the other one is Lewin Kazawa. Chig, Pepe Gueye signed for Watford on a free. If you didn't know, really on a free as well. Wow. I mean, if that's the case, this is Arsenal once again slipping. Get money for Uber, 40 million. Go get Dembele, get Fraser, get William for free, get a decent centre back. Hardly any net spend. That's from Daniel Da Costa. Um, don't be surprised if something like that happens. To be honest, I think that's a decent goal. Ola Ali. No, that's like choosing between two of my fingers. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. They are both my brothers. Both of them are my brothers. I ain't doing that shit. Chig, thoughts on Jonathan Tarr? Large up yourself, putting out this content during these times. Much love from the sick. Big up, Melina. I hope you're well, my dear. Um, I like him. I think he's a good player. He's my ideal centre back. He's the one that I would sign. He's the one that I'd sign as a potential partner for William Saliba. I think he's got good age. He's got good experience. He's played in the Champions League. He's played at a decent level in Germany. I think he'll only get better. He's a big lump. He's a completely different type of defender to Saliba, which I think is required. And I think he's perfect for the Premier League. So he's someone I'd have immediately. I answered this one during the show, Leah, so I won't answer it again. Uh, you know what, King James? I can understand that perspective, so I won't crap on you for it. I won't crap on you. I'll say, Nimsy, behave, relax. I could see you abusing Melina for whatever reason. I'd say relax, be easy, be easy, be easy. Um, it's Raul and Edu not doing their job. Papu Gray is a gem. Well, supposedly their focus at the moment is South America. So one of the stories I read today, but I didn't really want to go into it, was the fact that they've put certain things in place in the South American market so that now, whenever there's a talent, they are one of the first people to be alerted to that. So they put certain infrastructures and stuff in place so that the hope is that we get more Martinellis through, more gems from the South American market. So yeah. Um, Klopp or Wenger? Ooh. What are we talking about? If we're talking about managers now, I'm going to say Klopp, obviously. If we're talking about their achievements, to be honest, I'll probably still say Klopp. Oh, goodness. Not a Wenger fan, in case you didn't know. Um, Gosh, got loads of people just flirting with Melina here. All right, 3 more minutes and I'm out of there. 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes. Well, people watching this on the playback said 10 minutes was 2 minutes ago, chick. All right, 3 more minutes and I'm out. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. One more plug for everything. My movie channel, my movie review channel, Chick Flicks, is in the description below. Please go check that out. Show it some love. I'm in the process of putting an intro outro for that, so that in future it's just going to be pre-recorded stuff on there. The combat show, you're going to see some changes for that, hopefully. So make sure you check that out. Again, leave that in the description below. Sorry, the description below. Go subscribe to that. Every single Friday, we come to you and give you a show on the combat channel. So make sure you check that out. And also subscribe to this channel. And as Leah says, one of the things I've really liked about what she said today, please smash them likes before you go. Before you press that X, it takes 2 seconds to switch on them likes. Oh, just realized I've seen another person I want to make a mod. Hold on. Ah, Tyrone as well. Yeah. So yeah, please do switch on them likes. Oh, I can't find her anymore. All right, Laka or Felix? Oh, good question. Laka, let's say. Laka. No, not 20 more minutes. I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here. Uh, any other questions? Last question. Give me a last question. What do you think Raul Saneli? Hold on, let me pin that comment. I think that's a better one. What do you think of Raul Saneli and him not signing players up, even though he identified it as a problem with Ramsey? I'm shocked in some ways about the Aubameyang deal, but I think probably in all fairness, it will be the right thing to judge him will be on the players that he's signing, because you can't really judge him on the Wenger signings just yet, because from his perspective, he's still trying to tidy that up and trying to find out what these players are on, what they could potentially offer. So I don't completely rubbish him for it yet, but I do remember him saying, and somebody specifically asked him about Aubameyang, and at the time Aubameyang had 2 years left on his contract, and they basically said to him, "So if Aubameyang doesn't agree a deal by January, are you going to sell him?" And he was like, "Yeah." Fast forward a year now, we are now in this situation. It's just like, the Saka deal. I'm not going to crap on him because this is a kid that's recently broken into the team, and then he's done well, and then we've realised, oh shit, he only has a year left of his contract. So I'm not going to crap on them too much for that. There's other stuff I'd rather crap on them about. Contract length, I'll give him a little bit of slack for. All right. I think that's it. That's a wrap for me on here. Please, everybody, take care. I've put a new wave of mobs now, probably way too many. So I might edit that later on. So if you do find that you don't have a spanner in the next show, don't feel too disheartened. There's just too many people now that have it. So I might just have a look at that situation again. But everybody, big up themselves for the show. Please do stick a like on this video before you get out of there. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I'm out. Take care. Peace.